Even though the 2026 Kawasaki KX450 is technically unchanged for the new model year, I still feel like there's a lot of points to talk about with this bike, so let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome to another First Ride review. I'm Ryan Nitzen, and today we're talking about the 2026 Kawasaki KX450. Now this new generation Kawasaki 450 was introduced back in 2024. The previous generation was from 19 to 23, and this one got a big redesign back, like I said, in 2024. 2025 had a new air filter change, and then 2026 is virtually the exact same bike as 2025, aside from new graphics. But there is a big change that I feel like is kind of not being talked about, and that's the recall. There was a big recall, a stop sale recall for the 2025 KX450, KX450X, and KX450SR models. And the representative from Kawasaki that we deal with, he really informed me that what it was is a durability coating on the crankshaft. And when they did a quality assurance test on this to see, what the thickness of the coating was, it wasn't what it should have been. And I don't believe they had any actual reported failures. It was more of like this could fail. So what they did is they pulled all of the models. And if you know anything about like Japanese culture and these companies, they are very conservative. So instead of letting it fly, they pulled a stop sale, and with new laws that are in place, you have to inform not only just your owners and your dealers, but you have to release it to your mailing list and your social media for any recall stuff. So once obviously the recall comes out, us media, we jump on that and we're like, oh my gosh, we have to report on it. Look at what's going on at Kawasaki. There's a big recall. Now, if you were to buy a 2025 model that's on the floor, 450, a 450X or 450SR, those bikes have all had those recalls, the required maintenance done to those bikes. And for 2026, you can guarantee that coating is up to par of what they want it to be. So that's like a huge thing that I wanted to address, especially after the big recall. I think it's super important that we talk about that. But moving into the KX450, there's no new updates for 2026, like I said, aside from graphics. But what you are going to get with this bike is a $10,499 MSRP. Now that's obviously before the tariffs and any other surcharges. You have a seat height of 37.8 inches. And this bike weighs 248 pounds fully fueled, making it one of the heaviest bikes in the 450 class at the moment. It's right up there with the Suzuki RMZ 450, which weighs in at 247 pounds, claimed wet weight. You're also going to get a 1.64 gallon fuel tank, along with a toolless air filter access on the side panel over here. You can pop it off with no tools and get to your air filter for easy access and easy changes. Kawasaki has also stepped it up with this generation, having a 2-map cluster over here on the left side of the handlebar. There is a light on or a light off switch, as well as traction control on or off. And this is actually the same exact unit that comes on the Honda. The only difference is on the Kawi, there is a on or off. Where the Honda has, I think, 3 different maps. You can pair this bike up to the Rideology KX app. Make sure you get the Rideology KX and not the Rideology Street. I made that mistake when we first picked up this bike. But you can adjust the different maps inside the bike. You can look at maintenance, intervals, you can log notes, everything like that. So this bike actually has a lot of, from the previous generation, the 2019 to 23, this new bike is kind of up to par with the rest of the bikes in the class right now. You're also going to have ODI grips that are lock-on grips and a Brembo front brake. You have a Brembo front brake and a Nissan hydraulic clutch. So the levers are 2 different levers. That's a little something we can note later, but cool that they are adding the Brembo brake. I think it's the only bike in the class, Japanese bike, that comes with a Brembo brake on it. So a little bit different. I feel like Kawi has kind of taken a lot of the notes that we have, given back to them media collectively in the last few years when they reintroduced this bike for the 2024 model. The grips we used to complain about on the old 19 to 23 grips, the levers we hated, other things like the toolless air filter, the app, all the other bikes kind of had these things. And with this new gen Kawi, they kind of put all of these things together and have this all available on the 2026 model.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the latest video. If you're like us and you love riding dirt bikes, you know that there's a little bit of maintenance that goes along with that. MotorX has just launched their HYK series of oil change kits in a box. What that does is it makes it very easy for you to do an oil change on your Honda, Yamaha, or Kawasaki 250 or 450cc competition off-road or motocross bike. The oil change kit's gonna come with a pre-measured top speed full synthetic 4-stroke oil can. It has the exact amount you need to do your oil change. It also comes with a high quality oil filter and a new crush washer for your drain bolt gasket. Everything you need to do a fast, efficient, high quality premium oil change is in that box from MotorX. We like having a few of these kits on hand here at the Cycle News shop. It makes our maintenance really quick and easy. You can find these at motorx.com or hit up your local dealer that sells Motorx and tell them to get some of these in stock so you can have an easy oil change of your own.
All right, so what's it like to ride? After we put our DecalWorks graphics on, we headed out to the track. We've ridden this bike 3 different times now, and I've really got a good feeling on it. The biggest thing that I remember is this bike kind of feeling like a little bit sluggish. I think in my initial video in 2024, I was like, oh, it's the KX450, and I've heard other guys say that before too. But what I almost forgot is that Kawasaki had their app that you could change. Now, inside the app, it's not as user-friendly as the Yamaha, where like they have just the slider. I think Yamaha's just has the slider. You can move it up or down. And in reality, this isn't doing a ton. You're not reflashing the ECU. It's really in this window of, plus 7 to 10% or minus 7 to 10% in terms of overall power. But when we picked this bike up, the guys at Kawi sent us a map to do, and I'll put the settings up on the screen now so you can see. But we increased the ignition and turned up pretty much everything. And what I remember, like I said, this bike kind of felt a little bit slow and sluggish. And so I had the light on version was this map that we got from the Kawi guys. And then the light off was the stock version that it comes with. So kind of 2 versions to be able to play back and forth. And I was so surprised at what the bike felt like. I was like, I don't remember the Kawi feeling like this. I was so surprised, and it felt so much more connected and had so much more grunt off the bottom and good carry through the middle. This has been a really fun bike to ride. I was really impressed. I would definitely suggest running this map that they sent us. I've actually gone back and forth on this bike and the Triumph that we have right now. And the Kawi, before having this app, I would have said, oh yeah, I would have think that the Triumph would probably be better in terms of overall motor-wise than the Kawi. But honestly, the Kawi has more get up from the low end, that 2nd gear to 3rd gear pull, I think, than the Triumph does. The low end for the Kawi has really excelled. And on a hard packed track, it was super fun and had a really good connected feel. And I'm honestly really impressed with the engine. Throwing this map in there, I would definitely recommend if you have a 2025 4 or the new 2026 model, definitely try riding with this map. As usual with the Kawasaki, they have the KX Ergo Fit system. So there's 2 different bar mounts and 2 different foot peg positions. You can flip the mounts as well for both of those. So you can kind of have like 4 different positions. And there's also the 2 different engine hanger positions. I still have not ridden with the new engine position or engine hanger positions. But I like the bike to feel small. So I run the mounts for the bars in the backwards position. I like to roll them down, and I keep the foot pegs kind of up a little bit. I don't know. I just like the bike to feel kind of small so I can move it around a little bit. This bike is a little bit heavier than some of the other bikes in the class. And you do feel it a little bit when you're out riding. It feels more top heavy, but it feels planted. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like an air fork sometimes where it kind of feels like it's going away from you. It feels solidly planted in the ground. It's not as maybe maneuverable as even the Triumph or some of these other bikes that are lighter than the Kawi. But it does feel planted. It feels a little top heavy when you lean into it into the corners. When you're trying to turn maybe on something that is not a rut or a banked berm. But when you have something to turn off of, I feel like it works really well. And using a little bit of throttle, it helps hold the bike into the rut. And it's super easy to turn in that sense. I feel like it does feel, like I said, a little bit top heavy, but other than that, I didn't notice a ton of difference. I'd love to ride this bike, back to back with the Suzuki that's a similar weight and kind of feel the weight distribution. But overall, it feels very comfortable to ride. I like the Ergo Fit system and the availability to change things. That's all stock, not having to add aftermarket parts on it. I think Kawasaki's really onto something there. And it's cool for taller riders or smaller riders to take advantage of that. The Brembo front brake is another standout feature and something that I really like. I feel like this is the best brake in the game, and having it come standard on a Japanese bike is pretty cool. It works really well. I like the adjustable dial on the front brake lever as well, so you can kind of back the lever away or closer to the grip. Just a little something, but I love the shape of the lever. One thing I've complained about before too, though, is having the Nissan hydraulic clutch as one lever and the Brembo brake as another lever. It does feel like there's 2 different levers, which there obviously is. But have you ever broken a lever and thrown, your spare on from the toolbox and thrown it onto the bike? That's kind of how I feel getting on the Kawi. I'm like, oh, why are they not the same? This is a brand new bike, you know? So I don't know. It's not a huge deal. And if you get a set of matching levers, it's really not a big deal, but just something that you'll feel right out of the gate that they are not the same. The suspension on the Kawi works well. I feel like it's a little bit on the soft side, and I've already gone 3 clicks in on the fork just to get it to hold up a little bit better when I'm under hard braking or going on a steep face of a jump or a steep landing. We've ridden Fox Raceway a lot, and just kind of maneuvering it through the bumps and the ruts. I want a little bit more feel from the front end. Getting the clickers to hold up a little bit more has really helped me, and I look forward to really fine-tuning this setup because I actually am having a lot of fun riding this bike. Kind of to retouch on the cockpit situation, this is a traditional Japanese bike. You have the very flat seat with the flat sides. I feel like the new Honda is kind of more European style where it's got that rounded seat. The Yamaha as well has a very rounded seat, just like the KTMs and the Husqvarnas kind of used to. It's funny, the Husqvarnas and the KTMs now have more of a squared off seat like the Japanese used to, and the Japanese are kind of moving into a rounded style like the Europeans used to. So I've always thought that's kind of funny in this new, you know, the newer generation bikes. But this is a very standard Japanese bike. If you've ridden an older Honda, older Yamaha, older Kawi, Suzuki, and you jump on this, I think you're going to feel comfortable right away. So to wrap this up, while there's nothing really new about the Kawasaki KX450, there are some standout features with this bike, as well as addressing the recall situation from the 2025 model year. I feel like that's a very important thing that a lot of people aren't talking about. And to give Kawi some credit, I feel like they have taken a lot of feedback from riders and media in general with the toolless air filter access, with the phone app, with the switchable maps, the ODI grips, the levers. Those are all things that I can personally remember nitpicking the Kawi for from 19 to 23. And then in 2024, those changes really came through. So yeah, I think this bike is definitely a viable competitor. If you could sub a little bit of weight in there. I know also like the airbox, drilling out the airbox is another mod that a lot of guys are doing. So I feel like getting a little bit more power out of this thing and maybe lightening it up, or, you know, pulling a little bit of weight off in order to get more power, I feel like is going to really bring this thing up to the next level. But for the time being, I'm having a lot of fun riding this thing. Like I said, this new app and phone map that I'm using, I really can't stress that enough. This has totally changed the feeling of the bike. I can't wait to play with it a little bit more and get a really dialed feeling and put this bike up in our 2026 shootout that's coming up soon. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, drop a like, give us a comment, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to see more, there's always more at cyclenews.com. We have a full website with all the breaking news in the motorcycle industry, as well as a full digital magazine that comes out every Monday night for free. You can check that out again at cyclenews.com. We'll also have a full written article on the website coming up soon, so feel free to stay tuned and be sure to check that out.